Now we're going to look at the population of two states. So the graph shows the populations of California and Texas over time. So here we have 1900 and then overall the way to 2010. So it says estimate the rate of change in each population between 1970 and 2010. So here is 1970 for Texas, and I'm going to estimate that to be about 11 million. And then 2010 for Texas, about 25 million. So I would go for Texas, my average rate of change, we would have change in Y over change in X. So again, 25 million minus about 11 million. So I'm just going to go 25 minus 11. And then divided by the change in the years. So we can go 2010 minus 1970. And then here, 25 minus 11, we saw an increase of 14 million. And then divided by the years, you can either subtract with a calculator or do that in your head. That's 40 years. So we went up 14 million over 40 years. So if you divided that, that means I'm going up by 0.35 million per year. So again, how you get that, if the Y variable is in millions and the X variable is in years, that's how I get my increase of 0.35 million per year. So if we do the same thing for California, what we do is do change in Y over change in X. So the end, California seems to be about, I'm going to estimate that to be 38 million people. And then in 1970, it's at 20 million people. And then divide that again by 2010 minus 1970. So in this situation, we have an increase of 18 million people divided by 40 years, which gives us an increase of about 0.45 million people per year. So in this situation, what does each rate of change mean? So here, Texas is increasing by 0.35 million people per year. So we can say the population of Texas is increasing by, and then we would say about 0.35 million people per year. And California is increasing by, we can just say by 0.45 million people per year.
Students, please pardon the interruption.
So what we would do there is also just say that this average happens from 1970 to 2010. Fit that in there. So now, which state's population grew more quickly between 1900 and 2000? So we have to look at, here's 1900 to 2000. So there are a few different ways to do this. We can look at this graphically. What we're doing is finding the average rate of change or the slope of this line. So in looking at the slopes of the two lines, the answer is going to be California. So California has a steeper line, so that would be true, but let's practice finding the average rate of change. So we can say California for sure. So California has a higher rate of change and a steeper line on the graph. Now, we showed the line on the graph, but we have to show our work for the rate of change. So what I'm going to do here is just write Cali, and then find from 2000 to 1900 what the rate of change is. So we have about 35 million people for Y, and I'm going to estimate that to be about 4 million. So we go change in Y over change in X was about 35 million minus 4 over our year was 2000 minus 1900. So here that's 31 million people in 100 years. And I can do that. If you divide by 100, you just move the decimal 2 spots to the left. So this becomes 0.31 million people per year. So now what we're going to do is also find that with Texas. So again, the average rate of change is the change in Y over the change in X. We know that change is going to be 2000 for X minus 1900, which is 100. So now we have to find the change in Y. So going back to here, we're at 20 million minus about 2 million, which gives us 18 million per 100 people. Sliding the decimal 2 spots, it gives us an increase of about 0.18 million people per year.